Hello and welcome to our panel for board game design. I am accompanied with my friend Amir and my other friend Amir.
Hi.
These guys have been playing games for a very long time, right? How long have you been playing games?
I'm 41, and I guess I was playing games since I was 5. Yes.
That's awesome.
I think over 20 years maybe.
20 years.
Yeah. I started with video games
I think we all did.
Moved
At some
to
point.
board games as a child, the games like Monopoly and stuff like that, and switched back to video games through my teens.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing board games I think about 9 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and here I am.
Very good. Good to have you here, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
You too, sir.
You too.
Oh, thank you. Now, I know both of you guys have designed games.
Tried to design. Yeah.
I mean, you have, right? I mean, let's be honest, all right? Let's start there. How long have you been designing games?
About 7 or 8 years ago, when the idea of a community of a board game enthusiasts in Iran comes to my mind, I was thought to myself that how can I get people to know about this wide world of
For gaming?
board games. Yes.
Right.
And I was thinking about that there need to be some games first of all.
Naturally,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah. And so it was at that time that I started to design games. I was working at the animation company at the time, and I proposed to my boss that they had some successful animated series. So I suggested that I design a game based on
That
Yeah,
IP.
series.
the
Yeah.
IP of that series.
Mhm.
It was called Shekaristan, and I did 2 games for them, and it was really fun.
You enjoyed the process?
Yeah, despite that, none of them published.
No,
Never.
published? It's okay. I mean,
Yeah, but the process was really fun. So at that time, I decided to continue doing that.
very awesome. Very good. Very good. And what about you?
I started designing I think about 3 years ago, and I mostly work now as a developer.
As a
I
developer.
I work at a company that produces games, and I work there as a developer. I work with games that are designed already, and also I have been designing some stuff for the past 3 years I think. And
Like one of his prototypes.
yeah.
An unnamed prototype. Let's say.
And I really enjoyed the process, both developing the game and designing the game. Really different processes, but
Very good. Awesome. Now, you said you enjoyed it. What do you enjoy most about the process?
I enjoy both development and the design, but in case of design, I always start with writing stuff about everything on the game, about the world, about the things I like to be in the game, about the feel that I like to share for the people. So the brainstorm is one of my favorites.
If I may interject, this is the question I usually ask people, do you first think about the theme or the mechanics of the game?
Actually, I'm not, how many, I guess I'm designing 3 or 4 games. Only 2 of them are published. Lots of them are in prototype. But I always enjoy to get some mechanism from the team. When I think about the team, I can write more. It's about the story, about the space, about the world.
Like, okay, I have this theme. What can I incorporate it in?
Yeah.
Incorporate into it. Like, what kind of mechanics?
It's more fun for me that way. But basically, it's what I wish to do is to design the situation, not the team, not the mechanism. The situation around the table for the players to
Interact with each other.
Yeah.
Very good. Harry, I want to ask you a different question.
Okay.
Which game mechanic do you like the most?
I think worker placement is my favorite.
You
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, do you have a favorite worker placement game? Your go-to games, like I always play this.
I enjoy Caverna the most. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think of it as a classic worker placement game.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too crazy, nothing too special about the worker placement in that game, but it's really solid and it shines as a classic worker placement game.
Classic example.
Yeah.
All right.
What about you?
Me?
What
I gave it away. I love worker placement.
Yeah, you too.
I do. I love worker placement. Could be any game. Like, could have, let's say, 4 different locations for the worker, or could have 64 different locations for the worker. I'm not gonna say the more the better. No, but like, I love the choices you make. I like the idea of like blocking other people.
So you enjoyed all the range of Rosenberg's games, the
Pretty
smallest
much, yeah, like
worker
the-
placements through the Feast of Odin stuff.
Yeah. Like Feast of Odin.
Yeah.
64 was actually a reference to Feast for Odin. What is your favorite mechanic?
trading and negotiation.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not really good at it, I think.
But you know, it's let the people be themselves. You know, when I negotiate, I can be beyond the laws of the rules of the game. You know, I can be myself. I can treat.
You like the
Way I
meta level of
Yeah.
gaming, I think.
Sure. I love that.
No, I'm not very good at negotiation. My, what is your least favorite?
Least favorite game mechanic. Oh.
Like, is there a least favorite? Like something you probably try to avoid?
It's an interesting question.
Mine is, I think, bidding.
Bidding.
Like auctions?
Auctions, not bidding, but auctions. That
Anything that...
or games that have some kind of double guessing. I'm not really good at that. So something like as simple as for sale, you say, and you have to guess that what the other players are thinking and push them to buy something at a higher price. I'm really, really bad at that. Pokery stuff, you know.
All right. What about your least favorite? If there is any.
I can name one. No.
Like, I like all of them, like my children. Now, about the games you guys designed, did you incorporate any of these, any of your, like, let's say, favorite mechanisms into those games? Can we see any of them in there? Or what mechanisms did you incorporate in your designs?
If I may start, I have 2 main mechanisms I'm trying to put in games, and not these are not finished games, but I would love them to work. One of them is area majority. I really think that's really a smart way of dealing with an area.
Could you give us an example of a game, like a famous game with this mechanism in it?
Area majority. I think Merlin has one on the ring that you put your cubes in there. I love it when something like area majority enters the Eurogame stuff. It's not all about conquering somewhere or battling something, and that's what I like about the majority part of it. Because area influence or area control is really aggressive, I think, but area majority has another level of strategy into it. And I don't know, maybe the best example would be El Grande, I think. That would be the classic, classiest game of area majority. That's one, and the other is worker placement, as I said. But worker placement is, I think, actually really fine to work with. It's really easy to make a game around. I think it's mature enough as a mechanism that you can easily make a game on top of it. But area majority, that is not something. I have been working on a game, I think, for 4 years.
Seriously?
Yeah, and it does not come out. Yeah, it doesn't fit. Yeah.
Famous name.
Yeah.
Oh, the one we
you
I
both
played.
have played
was a
that
good game,
prototype.
though. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the prototype I played.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it still sucks.
You can't say it sucks. Well, there's always room for improvement.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So these two, I really would like to make a game that works with these two. Yeah.
What about the mechanisms in your games?
I'm more into some spatial puzzles. So pattern recognition and pattern buildings are my favorite stuff. So in my both games, they kind of have these situations for in Fly or Not. So it's to you recognize as fast as you can the items on the cards and on the dice, so you can grab the answer. And on the Super Team, another game that is about football, and it's more heavier than Fly or Not, and it's the patterns are tactical movements, pass forward, pass backward, pass through, and you have to manage your position of your players so you can better pattern.
Could you give us an example of a famous game with this mechanism in it?
Touch color, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Right. So I was kind of right. Cash color.
Yeah.
Brilliant game. Very good, right?
And I also think that you could play his game Super Team.
Yeah. On Teletopia, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is it on Tabletopia?
Yeah. In this fair, people can go and test the game and see what it's
Actually,
like.
Fly or Not is on Tabletopia too, but
Really?
The Dexterity games are not in digital platform are not as fun as the physical one, but it's playable. So
can take a look.
Okay. Now, well, I'm gonna ask, what is your favorite game? What is your favorite, let's say, game that you have designed? I'm talking prototypes, ideas, not just the published ones. Do you have any favorite among your own games?
Among two.
No. Well, two of them have been published. I said.
I think he means that
like prototypes, whatever, throughout this whole.
Anything
this whole
you
time that
even
you've designed.
thought about.
Do you have like a favorite one?
There is one, but I don't know how to talk about it because it's nothing to refer to. But it's a game that works with it's a board game, but it works with sound. So it's in development process. And it still has got some works to do.
That's really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, when can we expect the new prototype for
the game?
The unnamed project.
I think I haven't been working on it for about a year now because we actually had Bruno Feduti over here in Iran. I think a year and a half ago, and we were talking about designing games, and he did a workshop here. And one thing I learned from him was that if you are struggling with the game for 2 years, 2.5 years, just put it aside and look at it after some time. So
words to live by.
Yeah. So it would be some time before I go back to that game.
So at first, if you try and don't succeed, give up. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Give up for it.
Try again. Try again. All right. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you soon. Well, another question that comes to my mind is, it's more of a general question, like about the whole process, but I want to ask you guys both, what goes into the process of getting a game from concept to production?
Nothing really.
Then I can do it. I'm good at doing nothing.
You start.
Uh, you know, I do the whole process by myself.
Mhm.
So this is a one-man band. uh, when it's come to design, I start with you know, as I mentioned, by writing anything about it. So I do it again and again. So it becomes something like a design document about the before that I start, you know, cut everything or
Making a prototype.
yeah, and then when
It's basically the game on paper.
yeah,
All right.
all the ideas, all the possible ways to play, and then I start by playing solo with some, you know, handmade prototype
Pieces and
yeah,
prototype. Yeah.
with trash actually.
You know, it's really, you know,
Pieces.
the cool thing about board games is that you can use this as something. You're like, all right,
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's roll that.
There we go. I win.
And you know, to find that is there any, you know, gap or something big missing in the rules, and then I start to play a little with my wife, and at that point I start to play with Amir and other friends in Tabletopia, because now we can easily, you know, gather around. So
We used to have in-person playtest sessions, and it was really good. We had them like in every other week, and it was really productive. But because of COVID, we switched to Tabletopia for our playtesting sessions.
So you guys create your own prototypes
Yeah.
on Tabletopia?
yeah,
All right. very
on the
nice.
workship session, so it can be played that, and
So
know,
you start playtesting.
yeah,
Okay.
start playtesting, and you know, I tweak stuff and change the rules. I start writing the rules, and you know, the similar stuff. One thing I love to do, you know, it's for me it works really well. I start to imagine. I start to imagine the gameplay. So I close my eye, I imagine that players are playing, what they do when they laugh, when they start to shout, you know, what is, you know, to find out how they
You visualize the
interact.
whole, like
Yeah.
the whole table in your head. You see it?
and mainly I visualize the thing I like to be. You know, if I want to, you know, roll the dice like that, so I start to do something in the game that pushes the player towards to rolling dice like that.
You're really focused on the experience around
Yeah.
the table,
Yeah, the situation.
as opposed to the mechanisms or.
Yeah.
All right, let's stop at this stage. What about you? Like when you're developing something?
Oh, I
your
think
process?
from the concept to a design game is one process, and from starting with a design game to a playable game is completely
To a product,
another.
yeah, to a product. No, we're not there yet. So we're gonna come back to like publishing and like.
Okay,
putting
so
out a game.
about the designing part of the game, I'm kind of all opposite of Amir.
Okay.
I never write down anything. I'm more of a visual person, so and I have a background in graphic design. So I start by making a prototype in the software that I'm going to print out and move around and play with. I also cannot
So wait, you have an idea. You don't write anything down. You're just creating the game.
just start.
Creating.
I just open a file and start to design a card. Not really design something.
No.
Really simple stuff, but I start to make
Sorry,
the card.
but not really designed from Amir is, you know, a very nice prototype. You know, visually it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think people who like to work in designing board games, them learning some stuff about graphic design, about softwares can help them, but it's not essential. I think if they knew how to work with some software and how to gather around some layouts and stuff, their life would be much easier.
So here's the thing. What would you like to do? Like, would you like to work as a one-man production team, or would you like to have like a real team of, let's say, playtesters, graphic designers, writers? You know, like big business basically work?
I can answer that with something you asked about, something Amir said about his process. I also cannot even for a second play a game solo. I cannot
gotta
even
have other
imagine
people.
it being
Right.
played with 3 people. I have to have 3 people playing that game. I cannot imagine being 2
Why is
persons.
that?
I don't know.
You want to see the reaction. You want to see like.
No,
how
no,
you feel about it.
I just can't make my head around making a decision not based on what this person is doing.
Okay.
When you're playing solo, you're not playing solo, you're playing as 3 people.
Right.
You want to test your game. So you have to think as this person and then go think as that person. I cannot
Oh,
do
you
that.
can't do that. I'm
I
good
can't-
at that actually.
I mentally I cannot comprehend that much
No, that's one
complexity.
thing I realized during COVID.
Hmm.
When you have nobody to play with, I was like, okay, I'm gonna play this game. This game does not have a solo mode, so what am I gonna do?
You play with yourself.
Yeah, that's what I did, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna play a 2-player game. I'm gonna be, for example, the yellow guy, and I'm gonna be the for example, the blue guy, and then the blue guy at the end of the game won.
Do you
Yeah.
take sides?
Usually,
You know?
no, see, that's what I do. Like,
Do you root for some of them? One of them?
I'm trying to, but I can't even cheat when I'm playing against myself. I make the move, and then I shut off my brain, and then turn it back on again for this guy. And he's like, all right, what's the best move I can make? And then it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. Like 80% of the time, the outcome of the game is not what I intended it to be. Like what I wanted. I wanted the humans win, but the robots won. You know what I mean? It's weird. But it's fun.
No, I cannot do that. When I play as this player, I start some strategy and go play as that player and help this strategy. And I sit over there and also start help this strategy, and I come back and complete the combo. And I think when designing a game, that should not be how you test things, because this way this works. Yeah. So to answer your question,
So you get other people to come and play test it. And
I think not soloing stuff is really better. Yeah.
What about, okay, let's say we have designed a game. Now we wanna start a production on it. All right, we wanna have like a physical copy of it. What is the process for that?
You know, I first of all I made some checklist about all the things should be fixed in a prototype based on feedbacks from the playtest and stuff, and start to recently we work with some projects with Amir, and Amir suggested that we start with graphic design first, because when the elements of the UI is in the right space, you can better choose what to do in the process of development. So we start by the graphic design, and then some primary prototypes, mock-ups, and then changing.
I've always been like fascinated with the graphic design that goes into games. Like how do they come up with this? Like some games are so easy to read. Like it really helps you
and that
elevate the game. It elevates the game to like the next level. It's amazing.
And when you try to do that yourself, that's a really hard thing to do. That's a really hard thing to pull off. Yeah.
Would you like to work like as a one-man team, or have?
I think that question was about the designing the game.
Yeah.
In production,
you
no
can't.
way you
How?
can pull it off one man. I think I only know one designer that does that. I think Ryan Lucott, and
Red Raven.
and his games look amazing. They play amazing. They are good games, have great graphic design, but I don't. That's the odd one. I think.
Well, that's an exception.
Yeah, that's the exception. Everyone should have a professional graphic designer, professional artist, professional rule maker, rule book editor, proofreaders. Yeah.
Right. So, how long usually does it take to go from concept to production in this country, in Iran?
I can say that it depends on the country, but it depends on the game itself. You know, Fly or Not for me takes about 2 days to, you know, 90% complete. But the Super Sim, it's more than 6 months now.
He's like the Stephen King of board game design. He's very prolific, just like 2 days. I think it takes Stephen. Don't take what I say with a grain of salt, but I think Stephen King like puts out novels left and right. He just
Back to back.
He's very prolific. Yeah. So 2 days.
Yeah, but because it was an easy game. You know? With one main idea, but you know when there's lots of ideas in the game, each one of them needs to be complete before going further in.
Oh, which actually was a question of mine. Do you work on 2-3 games at the same time, or can you do that? Or do you have to finish one first and then move to the next one?
I cannot work on one game alone. If I could, that would make that game complete. But I cannot just do that. After working on a game for some time, my mind goes
in a different direction. Fresh ideas.
Yeah, for some other game, I have some ideas for some other game, and I go there, work on that, and go back here. I think I have 11 games. I started the project. None of them have anything to be proud of. None of them has. Half of them have playable prototypes, but half of them don't even have that.
There's just ideas.
There's ideas on that file, not written ideas.
Well, these are
visual, visual ideas. But if I could focus on one game, that would make it go all the way through. My one game that is being published, because it was going to publish, because we could made the deal to publish the game, that made me focus on that game to finish the damn thing. But other stuff, because there's no publishing deals or nothing forcing me to finish them, it goes all over the place.
All right, since we have to wrap up very soon, my last question is: do you have any suggestion or any advice for like aspiring board game designer, someone who's new, wants to try their hand in designing?
In Iran, especially.
In Iran,
right?
In Iran.
You know, one thing I can say is that it needs lots of patience. You know, you hear stuff that you don't want to hear, you see stuff that you don't want to see. People say something that may hurt you about your game, that you feel close to. It's, you know, you feel it's deep in your heart that you love this game. It should work, but
you have to be able to take criticism.
Yeah, sure. So you need lots of patience.
I think I'm gonna borrow something from a great designer whose name I don't remember right now. It was on one episode of Board Game Design Lab podcast. He said this, and it really resonated with me. He said to separate the board game designer from a design. If you have a design in your mind, it's probably not going to work, because you are too invested in one design and you want that game to work, and it may not work. If you have many different ideas, you will put all of them in that one game. That may not work. Maybe that one game becomes the whole you. If I insult the game, if I say something not good about the game, if that game plays dull, it's like I'm saying you're dull. And that's the problem. If you think of yourself as a designer and your designs as separate things, I started to think about that. I would like to be a designer. Maybe this game works, maybe this one works, maybe none of them works, but I would like to be a designer who can design stuff.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much
for
coming. We'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.